one guy we referred to is 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now, who referred to us from the asylum clinic. His first words to me when he came up with it, accompanied by a friend, was, "No one here will beat me, brother, will they?" And you could see the tenseness and anxiety in his body, and the sweat coming down his head, that the man was frightened. We showed him round, we reassured him. He mentioned the fact that he used to cook in a hotel in Istanbul, and being an opportunist, I thought, this sounds interesting, and I said, "Look, Mehmet, there's herbs, there's potatoes, cauliflowers, onions, garlic, you come and cook for us," which he set to with a will, and has continued to cook wonderful meals for us while he's been here once a week, and he's really enjoyed doing them. You can see that he just becomes a much more relaxed person. Throughout this process, while he's been coming here, he was sent away to detention twice. We had to launch petitions, contact MPs, write to local newspapers, and luckily friends in the local Kurdish community got together and collected money to employ a solicitor, who then got a reprieve for him. He was actually on the way to Heathrow Airport to be deported. The bus broke down, they had to take him back, and that gave us sufficient breathing space to be able to get the legal process kicked in. And eventually, after 2 months in detention centre, he was allowed back to Sheffield. Came back and cooked for us all. The welcome he got was wonderful, and then we helped him to just carrying on, and supported him through legal proceedings. Well, I think I went to Bradford with him to sit with him in court, and eventually someone at last, with some common sense, decided that this man had got post-traumatic stress disorder, whereas he'd been disbelieved by the legal system in the Home Office for 8 years, but eventually common sense prevailed, and the guy was given leave to remain. He's now attending college 2 nights a week. He's got to do some further job seeker training, studying for his citizenship, and that's with the help of staff, volunteers and other members who've all chipped in to try and make him as welcome as possible.
The reality is that no matter how much support you give, it doesn't always work out.
And I think for this project, the learning process of why people didn't attend is also important to understand. Asylum seekers in particular, rather than refugees, have really chaotic lives, and they've also come from a horrendous background. So to get them into some kind of routine in any way is quite difficult. Several other people referred who dropped out lived on people's settees or under a hedge in one person's case, or used a night shelter on a regular basis and then had to go into town to get a meal. So to try and get them involved in a structured weekly activity proved difficult, and also, I mean, life goes on around them. One guy in particular, the Home Office refused his appeal, and in desperation he tried to hang himself. We couldn't do anything at all to help that.
The routine of life of people in the asylum system, to me, is a very rigid set of rolling activities that people do that allow them to maintain their mental health. Because if they step outside it, then they're just, at the very best they're bored, and at the worst they become very disorientated and can then get unhappy, or the levels of aggression that people feel towards the system that's making it very difficult for them to justify their cases means that people have got a certain amount of aggression, or that might be cynicism, or that might be sarcasm, but But the support that's needed to help them is a support of more than just here, but of getting them here, taking them away from here so that they can keep the rest of the routine of their lives ticking over.
To overcome these barriers, a critical ingredient is trust. Our aims were to develop a sort of chain of trusting relationships that would give the refugees and asylum seekers confidence to be moved on from one organisation or individual to another. For us in this project, it has been good relationship with community projects such as the Welcome Centre or Assist. We've also established excellent relationship with statutory services such as GPs, psychiatric services and career advisors. Anyone along the line who has struck a rapport with an individual asylum seeker and so is trusted by that individual to refer on to another trustworthy person. And so gradually a route emerges into mainstream society.
When I first met Ali, his physical health was not very good and he was very depressed. He was feeling isolated and I met him at a conversation club, which he used to go to half a day a week to meet other people and to improve his English. But he was looking for other things that he could do, and he told me about his life before he arrived in Sheffield. And how he had a farm and how he loved nature and how he loved growing things. And at that point I knew about your project and it just seemed an ideal thing to refer him to. At first he was very reticent. He wasn't sure at all. But after phoning you and him going to meet you, he came back to see me and said that he did want to get involved. And a few weeks later he came back again and his mood had lifted tremendously and it was a real starting point for him.
You can invest what you like in leaflets and posters and translations, but at the end of the day it is that daisy chain of genuine, trusting relationships that provides the route to sanctuary.
I think for us as staff and volunteers here and our members, it's been a huge learning process for us as well. In terms of listening to someone's journey, understanding that journey, and helping that guy to feel a lot safer than what he or they have been.
Your project was really the starting point for things improving in terms of the companionship that he got there, but also his love of being able to do something practical. And I know that I heard that he was taking books home on gardening and it became the centre of his life for a time.
Becoming part of Green Finger is changing everything. For me it's like changing life. When I come here I was really poorly, been stressed, and now it's within these 4 years I've been a lot change.
I've just got you to a job.
Thanks for the tea, John.
No, you're no problem.
Morning.
Morning. Can I keen go up with you and ask if he can do some work with you? Because I don't want it to be there on the own. Will you go up on number 9 with Phil and do some work up there? Thank you. Do you want a cup of tea first?